Hi everybody, and thank you for joining me today. All right, I'm working at the top of this pass right now. I think I'm working kind of where some flowers kind of intersect. So I think I've got sort of the bottom of the petals from the flower that was in the last pass here, and then another flower's down here. So that is where I am working today. I didn't manage to get to 84% last month. A little bit short of that by about 1/4%. But we will see. So I'm hoping to get to maybe 86% this month. I did manage to make my 6,000 goal. It will be easy to keep track this time because I'm starting almost exactly at 257,000 stitches, only 2 stitches over that. So that shouldn't be too hard to keep track of. All right. Let's take a look at the length of this piece here. So I decided the flower petals kind of come down like this. So I'm going to probably follow that shape and work on that flower. And then I'm going to continue on with the flower that is below it. So I am going to start a new thread here to begin. It's been lovely here. The weather's cooling off, but it's not cold yet, so the heat barely has to run. It's my favorite time of year is autumn. I like when it's starting to get just a little bit of a chill in the air, but not too terribly cold. Although hard to believe it's October already. And Canadian Thanksgiving is coming up. I believe it's on the 13th this year. It's like the second Monday of October. Ours is earlier than some other places because, of course, our harvest season is earlier because the further north you are, the sooner it gets cold. We have a shorter growing season, so be time to think about Halloween before we know it. I actually saw a really cool one somebody put on the internet where they took a pumpkin and they poked some holes in it where they wanted like the eyes and the mouth for the jack-o'-lantern, and then they stuck they stuffed the openings they made with peanut butter and left it outside, and the squirrels chewed it. So the squirrels carved the pumpkin for them. Oh, that was pretty cool. And it made it look very ghoulish and, you know, with jagged edges kind of thing. Very Halloween-y. That was a pretty clever idea. I think my favorite part is the roasted pumpkin seeds. Those are always good. The only thing is I do get a sore jaw because they're very chewy. I don't eat popcorn very often for the same reason. You can get that pre-popped corn too in the bags that doesn't have like the hard shells, but it's not really the same as fresh popped popcorn with butter on it, right? There's really no comparison. So as long as it's along the edge of this curve, I'll do it, but I'm gonna, like I said, start stitching that curve out there and filling in above it for the next bit. But since this is right around this edge here, I will just do these before I park this thread again. Got the house all to myself because husband and son are away for work. My son took a picture. He saw another Jeep on the road that was exactly the same color and make as his. So he drives a blue 2015 Renegade. That's what we found for him for a used car. I kind of joked it was his second Jeep because his little ride-on toy that he had when he was a toddler was a Jeep. Oh, come on. A toy Jeep. It was a Jeep Rubicon, so I hate when that happens sometimes. Yeah, that's done. Sometimes you can get it to let go, but sometimes it just will not cooperate. Hopefully, this looks like enough for me to tie it off with, so at least there's that. Because I hate when you have to cut it off so short that you cannot tie it off anymore. And then you have to pick back stuff that you already did until you have a long enough thread to secure it. But thankfully, there was enough on that one, so could have been worse. Okay, just gonna take a look at this one. Yeah, that is short, so I'll just get a new small piece for those couple of stitches there. Finished off the center of the flower that was in this pass, orange, and I actually got a few zeros the other day, like 5 of them, so woohoo. Getting closer, and like I said, I have less than 50,000 left, so if I manage 6,000 a month, that'll be about 8 months, but I've been managing more than that, so I'm thinking more like 6 months, hopefully. So that would make me about March or April of next year. I'm thinking by summer for sure, but by Easter would be kind of nice. I think Easter, I'm not sure if it's in April or May in 2026. I'll have to look at the calendar because, of course, it goes by the lunar calendar, so it's not a set date. Alrighty, so I'm going to start building up like this because the color goes this way, and I decided I'm not fighting it. It became too much work to try to fight it, so I now just go with it. Oh dear. Yeah, fortunately it has been good for smoke the last while. Hopefully I didn't jinx it by saying that. Doesn't look quite right. I think I overshot the mark a little bit there yet. Instead of going next to the threads that were already in that spot, I kind of went over them. That's better. Again, probably me just being picky, but well, it's my project, so I can do it how I like, right? Unfortunately, had to cut this thread early, so it will not last as long as I'd hoped. So that darn knot. In fact, what I think I'm going to do is do these 4 here. And then I'm going to park this up here for that stitch that's kind of by itself right there. Oop, missed that one. There we go. So sometimes I stitch this way. Sometimes I kind of stitch this way within a strip going this way. It just kind of depends how the colors are flowing. Well, you'll see what I mean in a minute. So I'm going to stitch because this pink kind of lends itself to stitching that way as it intersects through this big section here. Got a lot of fabric at the top here rolled up. I have to be careful I don't sew through it or cut any threads on it, because that would really suck. So to get 6,000 this month would be 263,000 total. So 85% should be no problem. 86% would be a nice bonus. There we are. I don't always cross as I go, but sometimes it just makes sense to do that depending on where I want the thread to end up. I might just let me just plan ahead a little bit here. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do. As I often say, my big thing is I try not to close stitches in on all 4 sides, and I always stitch where it's connected on at least one side to an existing stitch. This piece is so big, I had almost a hard time getting the whole thing in the in the frame of the camera while I was filming my update post. Every month I kind of have to move the camera further back to be able to get the whole thing in there, because it's getting bigger. That's what I get for stitching on 14 count. But I don't mind. Not at all. Fortunately, I have a lot of wall space in my house, so I'm not running out anytime soon. petal kind of from the top flower here is kind of spreading out across the piece. I actually did start at 0 today. Knock on wood, no tech issues today. Let's see, how long is this piece? Oh, it's a pretty new one. I probably added it near the very bottom of the last pass. I was talking in other videos about how I make apple juice with the apples from my trees, and my juicer finally died after like 13 years or something. Well, I bought a backup that was on clearance at the grocery store, and it was not as good. I was not happy. So I went online looking for the same brand and model I had before, and I found it. I found one on Amazon. It's called the Big Boss Juicer, and it was like $150, and I was like, eh. I mean, it's a pretty good deal because anything else that I buy from a brick and mortar store is going to be like $200. I looked into it. But anyway, I kind of did it where I put it in my electronic shopping cart and then put it in the safe for later, you know, where stuff will stay for years sometimes before you actually decide to buy it, if at all. But anyway, I had to buy some other items. And whenever I do that, I always kind of do a little scroll through my saved for later in my cart just to sort of see if anything's gone on sale, or I decide, yeah, I am going to buy it or whatever. And I looked and it was suddenly on half price, or just over half price. So it went from 150 to like $80. I'm like, okay, yoink. Because I bought the first one from Sears and it was like $60. So after 13 years and only $80, I figure with inflation it's actually cheaper than the first one I bought, if you consider the inflation. So I'm not going to really, I don't really use it in between. I don't make a lot of juice, but I figured for that price, and I know it was a good brand, at least if they've stuck to their quality, which I know is sometimes a big if. You never know. Because I had, KitchenAid was the gold standard for stand mixers forever. And I bought one and it was awful. And of course, I lost the receipt after I'd had it for like 2 months, but you could hear the motor straining and clicking and catching, and it just was not, I was making bread with it and it just was not powering through it the way I expected it to. And it lasted just over a year. I wasn't happy. So when it died, I bought myself a new Breville mixer, which is what I had before, which had lasted me about 5 years. So I was happy with that. And I got it for free with my points at the supermarket. So it was a nice bonus. And they just don't make it like they used to. Like my uncle says, he has one. He went to culinary school for a while, and he still has the one he bought when he went there. And I think I was probably like 3 or 4 when he bought it. I'm 43 now, so, and he said, and it's still going strong. But yeah, they don't make things to last anymore. It's very frustrating. And my sister said same thing. Her husband bought her one for Christmas because she wanted one, and it died while she was whipping mashed potatoes with it the first time she had it. It's like pathetic. And she said the potatoes were plenty soft enough. It's not like I was trying to stir them up the consistency of rocks or something, but it couldn't handle it. And apparently, because I'd bought mine at Walmart. I was told that they sometimes make a cheaper version of the brand for that store. And which I kind of thought is, I mean, I'm not sure how true that is, but if they do, that's silly because kind of the whole point of branding is you know what you're getting. It's supposed to be consistent. So if I buy one from there versus Canadian Tire, I mean, I should be getting the same thing, you would think. That's what branding's supposed to mean. At least it sure is, in my opinion. For whatever that is worth. I had the same thing. I said Singer sewing machines were so good. One of my friends says she has her mother's 50-year-old Singer machine, which is still going strong. And I had one that I bought, a basic model, for like $100. I used it for over a decade. I don't sew a lot, but enough. And it was good. And it finally died. My husband took it apart and tried to fix it, but it was just worn out. And basically needed a new motor. And it's one of those things that, like, you can order the replacement part, but it's more expensive than just buying a new one. So I did, and it was terrible. It was all loose. It wouldn't pull up properly. I took it back to the store, and I got a different model from a different store, and it jammed the first time I used it so hard I thought I wasn't going to get my cloth back. And I was very upset because I was trying to do the serging on the edges of a piece of Aida fabric for a cross stitch, and if you cut that out, like, that's it, right? So I almost had to break the machine to get the darn thing out, and I tested it with another piece of cloth, and the same thing happened. And I know I followed all the directions, so I took that one back and I bought a brother machine next, a basic brother machine, and that one turned out okay. So I said, I don't know if I got a dud, but I'm not risking it again. I just don't trust you anymore. You used to be such a trusted brand, but not anymore. People have said there's a similar thing with the Corningware dishes. The ones from the 70s, 80s were virtually indestructible, and the newer ones are not. Pardon me. They're not like they used to be. I noticed the same thing with Pyrex. My mom had some Pyrex from before I was born, I think. And but I had one, and I put it in the dishwasher, and I remember after the load finished, I was pulling the tray and I heard this. I was like, what the heck? And my poor Pyrex was in shards. And it wasn't like a thermal shock thing. I didn't put it in from the freezer into the hot water or from superheat into cold water or anything like that. It should not have done that. I was not happy. And not just that it was broken, but picking all those shards out, trying to make sure I didn't cut myself on any of them, like, that wasn't fun. Yeah, talking about thermal shock, I did that once when I was a teenager. I was washing the dishes, and I took one of those out of the hot water and set it on the counter I was going to let it kind of sit with the water in it and let it soak. So while I did sort of the rest of the dishes and then scrub it, I didn't realize that I sat it down in like this pool of cold water. Ooh, yeah, you don't do that because it broke. It made this really loud bang, like a firecracker going off next to. I almost jumped through the ceiling, and it had broken, and it actually made this like big wavy crack down the middle. Oh, and I was like, I'm so sorry, Mom. I broke it. So lesson learned, always check that there isn't a puddle of cold water on the counter where you're setting it down, because that is a bad thing. You will not have a good time. Oh dear. That was actually a little longer than I thought it would be, so. Well, if I can get another stitch out of a thread, I always do try to do that. But similar thing, I do canning, and there's a lot of warnings. They say never, ever, ever sit the hot jars on a cold counter because they can explode, and you really don't want that. I was reading the instruction book and by someone about pressure canning, because I do have a pressure canner, although I don't really use it that much. That's for low acid foods like meat or vegetables that don't have vinegar added to them need to be pressure canned because it gets to a higher temperature in the middle to make sure that it kills anything that's going to make you ill. And so yeah, they're under pressure, so you really don't want them to explode on you. I had one time I was canning the chicken broth, and I don't know, maybe I didn't turn the lid on as tight as it should go. You're not supposed to ream it on as tight as it can go, but maybe I didn't do it tight enough. Like, you're supposed to have them, they say, about a quarter turn. Oh, what? There is something on. Let's see if it's this thread that's got the... There's a loop back here. Tuck my head underneath and take a look. Okay. Let's see if it's a different color. It's this color right here. Yeah, it might be the one next to it. It might be this one. We'll see. That's annoying. Anyway, I didn't doesn't seem like it. I must not have turned the lid tight enough, and it flew off. Like, the disc from the center just flew up into the air. And I said, I didn't know I could duck so fast. Because I thought the jar was exploding. I was like, get out of the way. Unfortunately, it was fine. But the broth flew out everywhere. And yeah, that made for an interesting moment. Okay, which one has got this loop? It's very annoying. Okay. Oh, what a stubborn piece of junk you are. Okay, let's see. It's a loop, but you know what? There's not much of a knot there. So maybe I will just leave this. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do, because I don't really feel a lump of a knot. So what I'm going to do is just kind of stretch it out across the back and stitch over it. Because pulling to try and find where it starts, and like I said, it doesn't make a lump, so really don't care that much. But I don't want to leave a loose loop across the back, so what I do is kind of thread another loop through that loop and then stretch it across the back and tie it off like I was securing any other thread. A pain in the behind. Sometimes I find if I pick and pick and pick at it, it makes the thread all fuzzy. And then you end up wanting to cut it out anyway because it doesn't look so good because it's all worn. So, this is a fiddly little... There we go. So then just kind of stretch this loop across the back and then tie it off with a piece of spare thread. And then that way it will get stitched over and secured. It won't come out. And it's still smooth. it won't suddenly, because if I leave it, it might start to catch on itself and form a snarl, and then it will make a knot, and I don't want that. So, okay, what a pain in the behind. All right, so switch back to this color here. See where I need to. My gosh. Kind of run a cost-benefit analysis there, and I decided. All right, so I'm doing these here. I undid them because I was trying to find that knot, but forget it. All right, there we go. So now do those. So just kind of slowly growing this out to the right and also downwards. I'm getting close to the end of this now. Let's see, 9 more. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so it is in this pass, so that'll be another 0 I get soon. Yay! Oh, rats. Ugh, very end of this thread knotted on itself. How annoying. Okay, so let's do this. Oh, I didn't even realize I've got another one of this parked over here. That's okay. This is a really big section of colors, so using both threads probably won't be an issue, I should imagine. any rate, it's attached now, so I'm not going to undo it. If I end up with too much, I just end one end. Save the extra bits. Ooh, 5 of this one. Yeah, that's in this area too. Woohoo. I was thinking I was going to get some zeros this pass. Those are always fun. I was so excited. I took a picture. I was texting with my son because they're out of town, and then I showed him, look, I got 5 zeros. It's like, oh, cool, Mom. Yeah, I wasn't sure if I was going to get them because some of this pink carries into the very bottom of the last pass. There's some sort of in that lower right-hand corner, there is some of this color in the background, these colors, but I guess not specifically. Some of them do run out sooner. Not as many colors here, but they do kind of interlock with each other a bit, so. Oh dear. I think I'm going to stitch in sort of this direction too. With the same thread. Sometimes if I'm in the center of a big section, I end up stitching in both directions, and sometimes I end up with threads on either side and they kind of meet in the middle. I just make it up as I go along. This thread will run out any time, and then I'll take over with the next one. Couple more with that strand. Add a few more until this runs out. So the back of my work doesn't always look consistent, but I don't really care. For some people, the neatness of the back of their work is really important to them. I am not one of those people. As long as it's not lumpy, that's all I really care about. Actually, I'll just do that one too. This one is pretty short. So I'll just do the first 3 stitches in this row with it, and I think that's all I will get out of it. This one actually isn't very long either. As I said, having multiple strands of this color isn't a problem because there's quite a lot of it here, so I'm going to need multiple strands either way. So here's the center line is right there, the center indicator on my pattern. So passing the halfway point on this pass. Woohoo! Not quite there yet because of course I have to fill in everything below it too. But we will get past that in October for sure. No problem. Actually, wait on this one. I want to do this one first. There we are. And then attach this strand. I think I'm going to work from the left side instead of the right. Yeah, I'm going to kind of divide this section of color up. Simply because I feel like working more downwards first, and then I will probably move the whole frame over to continue growing out towards the right. So that's just the most comfortable for me. Reaching 200 on this session today should not be an issue. Now I'm really getting into the bigger blocks here. this strand is a little loose. Yeah. Oh, there must have been a loop on the back there. Well, that's annoying, but that's okay. I'll fix it. Do like I did earlier in this session, but on the back. Now you can see what I'm talking about. Because I don't feel like picking back to this point. That's going to be undoing a lot of work. So thread a loop like this. So if I was going to make a loop start, so as you can see, it's caught on there like that. Then just go right back down where it's supposed to go, pull it taut, and then pull it taut along the back and tie it off like you were ending any other thread. And then it's nice and neat again, and no need to rip anything out because I hate doing that. It's nice and smooth along the back, so I don't have to worry about any lumps or bumps like that. Oops, caught it on my finger there. Unthreaded it. I hate when that happens. darker shading is going to show up here because I think that's where the start of the closed flower is. So we've got a big open flower up here, one over to the left, and then the one on the right is kind of half open. Garbage truck got a little too close to the neighbor's garbage cans and almost knocked him over. It's one of those ones that uses the claw arm to pick it up so they don't have to get out. Several years ago, the city actually gave every residence in town garbage cans because they split it. So it used to be all went in one garbage, and now they split it so that compostable stuff goes in one truck and non-compostable stuff like plastic and that goes in another. And so they gave everybody 2 bins, a gray one and a green one, the green one being for the biodegradable stuff, obviously. I imagine their job goes quicker now because it used to be stop, get out, grab people's garbage cans, empty them into the truck, move the truck down, you know, that kind of thing. And now they don't have to get out. It's just the arm for everything. They don't take any garbage in cans that isn't in those ones that can be picked up by the claw. So, but then they changed it. They no longer get stat holidays off now. They did that so that garbage day is always the same each week for you instead of it used to shift, because if they had the Monday off, then people who were on Monday went to Tuesday, and so on and so on. And then they changed it. So I think they get like Christmas Day, Boxing Day off, but like that's about it for the entire year. So that kind of sucks for them, I guess. I hope they get paid extra for having to work a stat holiday. They're probably salaried, so. Still have some old garbage bins. My husband will use those in the garage and then empty them into the one that they will actually collect later, or take things to the dump himself. So I think I'm going to do one more row here with this pink. And then that will be that for today. So all of this little area is what I filled in today. Starting to feel that in my arms. When I work big sections, I have to be careful to make myself take breaks so that I don't hurt myself. I learned that the hard way. But anyway, thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope to see you here next time. Thanks, everyone. Bye.